When we examine what the final straw is that creates change, we often find that it is one or more of three specific different elements. Looking for change? Stay tuned, we're going to talk about it. Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, we lead, and we inspire. We've been working on a book called The Tipping Point, and got some tremendously great ideas from that book. Big shout out. Let's get right to it. The three agents of change are called the law of the few, the stickiness factor, and the power of context. Once again, huge shout out to Malcolm Gladwell, the author of The Tipping Point, from where most of these ideas originated. Now let's start with the law of the few. When we say that one super Green Bay Packer fan makes and wears a hat that is made of cheese, or that Dr. Fauci says, wear a mask, or that Donald Trump says, you don't need to wear a mask, or that Michael Jackson can look like he is moonwalking forward when he is really walking backwards, or that elasticity of the body is a key ingredient in longevity as an athlete, along with avocado ice cream, of course, what we are really saying is that in a given process or system, some people matter more than others. When it comes to epidemics, a tiny percentage of people do a huge amount of the work. So who are these people? Well, in many cases, they are people whose lives and behaviors are well outside of the ordinary. Social epidemics work like medicinal epidemics. As an example, one AIDS-infected person can be a tipping point of infection in a single community. Now, in this case, it's not sexual appetite that sets them apart. It's things like how sociable they are, or how energetic, or how knowledgeable or influential they are among their peers. The stickiness factor. Well, we tend to spend a lot of time thinking about how to make messages more contagious, how to reach as many people as possible with our products or our ideas. But the hard part of communication is often figuring out how to make sure a message makes an impact once it reaches its target audience. The hard part is making sure that what we have to say doesn't go in one ear and out the other. Stickiness means that a message makes an impact. It sticks in your memory. Now, certain phrases like FDR's "a day that will live in infamy" when we had Pearl Harbor, or Neil Armstrong, "one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind," or more important phrases like Wendy's, "where's the beef?" or Arby's updated version of the same, "we've got the meats." Stickiness is a critical component of tipping. If you don't remember what I tell you, why would you ever change your behavior or buy my product or see my movie? The stickiness factor says that there are specific ways of making a contagious message memorable. They are relatively simple changes in the presentation and structuring of information that can make a big difference in how sticky it is. Let's move to the power of context. Epidemics are strongly influenced by the situation, by the circumstances and conditions, and particulars of the environments in which they operate. This much is obvious. What is interesting, though, is how far this principle can be extended. It isn't factors like the weather alone that influence behavior. Even the smallest and subtlest and most unexpected factors can affect the way we act. Let me give you an example. In the presidential election of 1960, between Richard Nixon and John F. Kennedy, they had a nationally televised debate. Now, I do believe it was the very first televised debate between presidential candidates in history. Now, those people that watched the debate saw a perspiring Nixon ably take on his young challenger. The fact that he was sweating profusely was a key factor that the end result was a win for Kennedy. Nixon was dripping. The irony is that those people that were unable to watch the debate, that listened to it on the radio instead, conclusively felt that Nixon had won the debate. Now take away the visual and Nixon wins. Watch the show and Kennedy was your man. Kennedy clearly owed his small margin of victory in the 1960 presidential election to the beads of sweat that poured out of the pores of Tricky Dicky Nixon. Kennedy appeared cool, calm, and collected, and Nixon did not. The implications of this insight for understanding epidemics are considerable. Social epidemics tip when a large group of people are suddenly convinced to change in some way, to accept a new idea, to buy a product, to see a new movie. If behavior is influenced by macro environmental factors, by the alienation of human life, for example, tipping an epidemic sounds like a pretty tall order. When one tinkers with the smallest details of their immediate situation, their foundational thinking can be adjusted more easily. The power of context says that behavior is a lot more suggestible than it seems. Let me give you a present-day example. How many times have we heard on the news how many people that have recently died from the COVID-19 virus that had adopted the platform, "I don't need to get vaccinated," changed their tune while they were lying on their deathbed in the intensive care unit? It's a tragic yet true example. Now these three rules of the tipping point, the law of the few, the stickiness factor, and the power of context, offer a way of making sense of epidemics. They provide us with direction about how to go about reaching a tipping point. Do keep in mind that these three factors do not act as equal catalysts for change at all times. It varies on a case-by-case basis. There are times when looking clearly at an epidemic through the prism of these three principles, when we can learn how to separate those interventions that are worthwhile from those that are a waste of time and energy. Now, next time we get together, we will look with more specificity how these factors apply to other puzzling situations and epidemics from the world around us. Once again, huge shout out. Malcolm Gladwell, author of The Tipping Point. Tremendous number of ideas from this book. Until we get together next time, always remember, don't ration the passion, fashion the passion. I'm Eli's dad.